From the 37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
Well, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Pixelated Paranormal. I'm your host, Sean. I'm finally almost over this chest crud that I have, and I also have a Necronomicon. And with me, as always, is Preston. Buddy, how are you?
What's up, all you cool ghosts and goblins, you crococoons and crocodingos, you skeletors and skelettes, you witchers and witches and whatever the fuck else you want to be. My name's Preston, and today I'm here to either sell you some cocaine or talk to you about conspiracies with my brand new autumn gold tinted lenses. So, I'm ready to party.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Yeah.
I like them, man. They look good on you. You look like you're about to go bowling with some conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, what's bad is like when I wear them at work and I come out and like somebody's like, dude, what the fuck? And I'm just like, hey, I'm here about to talk to you about glasses.
Right,
you want something?
yeah.
You want something like this? Because they can help you see. They can help you
I'm
see.
not just the manager. I'm a member.
Rainbows, unicorns, the third dimension. I don't know. When you put these babies on, it's a trip. I'm here to tell you.
Right. Oh, I like it, man. You look good. You look good. Well, I got to apologize to the live viewers. I may have to cough a few times. I'm getting over the nasty jam. I've been suffering from this crap for like a week, and luckily it's almost gone. But yeah, it might be a couple times I got to hawk a little bit of crud out of my lungs. But maybe. I don't know. Hopefully not that bad. But yeah, again, the perks of watching live TV. Well, quite suiting to tonight's topic, man, I want to share a photo. If you could slap that bad boy up on the YouTube for everyone to see. Shayla bought us our first piece of taxidermy, and it's, you guessed it, an Asquatch.
I have no idea what I mean, it's so fucking weird, man. But
I mean,
love
it's
it.
a face only a mother could love, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Let me know when you get it up there. There's a
No, it's
guy
up.
in
It's
Oklahoma.
up.
Oh,
Yeah, man.
terrific. Sorry, man. I'm not watching the live feed. So there's a guy in Oklahoma who does taxidermy, and he does it specifically on the rear ends of dead deer because, again, no piece gone to waste. And so they take the ass end of a deer, they cut it off, they flip it upside down, and the tail, which normally goes upwards, hangs down like a little beard. And then they just kind of retool the skin and they build, the mound of a nose and eye sockets and a mouth, throw in some really derpy teeth. And we, folks, are the proud owners of an Asquatch. And we've named him appropriately Queequeg. And I couldn't be
just
happier.
like Scully's dog off of X-Files.
Yeah. Yes, both named after the character, of course, from Moby Dick. But yeah, it's super awesome. It hangs up in our living room. We're super stoked. And it's a fun game we play now, trying to keep our stupid cat Sully from trying to climb the wall to grab the tail that dangles down. So there's that bit. But yeah, I'll find out the information for this guy and share it on the Facebook and the Instagram, because if other people want to own an Asquatch as well, it's pretty fucking cool. They make a lot of really neat ones, and all the way from like vampires to all sorts of other kind of cool little beasties. But Shayla specifically requested one that had derpy teeth, so I think this guy really nailed it. I really do.
Yeah, I got a little bit of space on the wall in the studio, so I think I should get one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking you probably ought to. You probably ought to. Ken said, Preston, you look like the shop teacher with the safety welding glasses. Jeremy M says, looks like an ex-girlfriend. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, it's super cool, man. I think these Asquatches are really neat. We've talked about them before on the episodes, years ago. But yeah, I'm super stoked, man. I'm very happy she got it. It was a fun little surprise. But Well, the Asquatch will kind of lead into our main topic of tonight's story, but first of all, Presto, you got a couple news stories, and I got one I'm going to throw in there as well. So why don't you
Yeah.
lead the way, pal? And we'll get after it, man.
I got to thank the wife for this because she usually tags me in news articles on Facebook, and I normally don't pay attention to them. So the first one is completely unrelated to tonight's topic. I think the second one will tie in very well. So,
Cool.
or at least I'm hoping.
Well, how about you go one, I'll go mine, and then you finish with your last one. How's that sound?
Sounds good. So up first, Sean, you probably didn't know, but after death, you're aware that you've died. Scientists say. Yeah. Yep, your subjective experience might not end the moment your heart stops. Research on near-death experiences suggests. The time of death is considered when a person has gone into cardiac arrest, which is the sensation of the electrical impulses that drives the heartbeat. As a result, the heart locks up, and at this moment, when the heart stops, is considered by medical professionals to be the clearest indication when someone has died. When the old ticker-talking is not ticking-talking. But what happens inside the old pink matter? Does death immediately overtake our subjective experience, or does it slowly creep in? I'm imagining where this article is going is like having sleep paralysis for like, I don't know, a very long time.
Oh.
Yeah, scientists have studied near-death experiences, also known as NDEs, as an attempt to gain insight on how death overcomes the brain. What they found? Remarkable. A surge of electricity enters the brain moments before brain death. One 2013 study, which examined electrical signals inside the head of rats, not human beings, but whatever, found that rodents entered a hyper-alert state just before death. Some scientists are beginning to think that NDEs are caused by a reduced blood flow coupled with abnormal electrical behavior inside the brain. So the stereotypical tunnel of white light may derive from a surge of neural activity. Dr. Sam Perina, the director of critical care and resurrection research at NYU Langone School of Medicine in New York City, he and his colleagues have investigated exactly how the brain dies. And if you didn't do it like that movie with Kevin Bacon and what was it? Flatliners? I don't give a shit. Your research is bunk, but whatever.
Oh, yeah, it's Flatliners. Yeah. I haven't seen it, but I really want to.
In previous work, Dr. Perina has conducted animal studies looking at the moments before and after death. He also investigated near-death experiences, and many times those who have had such experience talk about floating around the room, being aware of the medical team working on their body. They describe watching doctors and nurses working, and they describe having awareness of full conversations and visual things that were going on that would otherwise not be known to them. The medical staff confirms this, he said, but how can people who are technically dead be cognate of what's happening around them? Even after our breathing and heartbeat has stopped, we remain conscious for 2 to 20 seconds. That's how long the cerebral cortex is thought to last without oxygen. This is the thinking and decision-making part of the brain. It is also responsible. So this is not that bad. If I'm only like fucking alive after my heart stops, like, I'm dead! And then I'm dead. And then I'm just like, whatever happens, happens. That's not that bad. Anyways, according to the doc, you lose all your brainstem reflexes, your gag reflex, your pupil reflex. Yeah, all that's gone. It's shit.
Yeah, you shit the bed and lose all your mucous membrane control.
Yeah, and then brain waves from the cerebral cortex soon become undetectable. Even so, it can take... Oh, shit, no, it got worse. Now it can take hours for our thinking organ to fully shut down. Ooh, that's bad. Usually when the heart stops beating, someone performs CPR. This will provide about 15% of the oxygen needed to perform normal brain functions. If you manage to restart the heart, which is what CPR attempts to do, or back in the olden days, you just blow some smoke up someone's ass. Either way, you get the ticker going again. The longer you're doing CPR, those brain cells' death pathways are still happening. They're just happening at a slightly slower rate. Other researchers from Dr. Perna and his colleagues examined the large number of Europeans and Americans who have survived cardiac arrest In the same way, the groups of researchers might be studying the quantum nature of the human experience of love. We're trying to understand it, goddammit. So it's like trying to understand women. It's probably never going to happen, but we're going to give it a go.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the objectives is to observe how the brain acts and reacts during cardiac arrest. How much oxygen does it actually take to reboot the brain? How is the brain affected after revival? Learning where all the lines are drawn might improve resurrection techniques, which could save countless lives per year. And at the same time, we also study the human mind and consciousness in the context of death to understand whether consciousness becomes annihilated or whether it continues after you died for some period of time, and how all that relates to what's happening inside of the brain in real time. Yeah, there you go.
Holy shit, man.
Holy shit.
Wow. It's impressive to me, like, just how much studies we've done on death. How many studies, not how much, how many studies we've done on the topic of death and just studying, you know, what happens after we die. And they've already said that through science already developed up through like the early 2000s, we're already going to see, probably at the end of our lifetime, the potential for human expectancy of life to reach 130 years. So, like, we're potentially going to add about 40, maybe 50 years onto the life expectancy of humans. But beyond all that, the question is, do you want to live till you're 130? Like,
man, if I could live to be 130, but walk and look like I'm 40, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
But if all you're doing is keeping me alive in my crippled, old, decrepit body and life hurts every day, like, fuck that, dude. End it now. Let
yeah, I mean, we're talking about mobility issues and stuff like that. So, right. Man. Well, I got a bonus news story, dude, that I forgot all about. So let me share this one real quick with you. Scientists have created Scientists have created baby mice with the cells from two male parents for the first time in history. This is from AP News. For the first time, scientists have created baby mice from two male parents. Now, slow down for a second. We're not talking about hot, mouse-on-mouse action, two dude mice going at it having babies. It's a little bit different than that, but this is interesting nonetheless. This raises the distant possibility of using the same technique for people. Although experts caution that very few mouse embryos developed into live mice pups, and no one really knows if it would work for humans, it's very interesting nonetheless. It's a very clever strategy where they've taken stem cells and then used that to help reproduce baby mice embryo. It's an important step in both stem cell and reproductive biology. First, they took skin cells from the tails of male mice and transformed them into induced pluripotent stem cells. Big words, I don't know what all that means, but basically stem cells. Those then can develop into many different types of cells or tissues. So, through a process that involves growing them and treating them with a drug, they converted the male mouse skin stem cells into female cells and produced functional egg cells. Finally, they fertilize those egg cells and implant the embryos into a female mice. And then 7 out of 670 experiments then grew into live mouse pups. Now, that's only about 1% of those that were planted that actually became living mice. But this is fucking bonkers, man. The headline kind of makes you think they basically took two dude mice and they had babies. It's not quite how it goes. But beyond all the morals of like playing God and stuff like that, it kind of opens up a lot of opportunity for possibly saving a lot of extinct species of animals that we may only have like one, specimen left, or maybe like a handful that couldn't necessarily breed. So now theoretically, you could take the cells of like a male animal that's way too old to breed and then do the same exact deal, and we could start saving tons and tons of extinct species or species that are, on the edge of extinction.
Your dick don't work? Science got you covered, dog.
Yeah, just scrape a little bit of butt meat off and roll it up into a ball, squirt some, magic medicine on it, and then boom shakalaka, you got embryos, man.
Wow.
So, of course, the main question comes up is, why the fuck are we still experimenting on animals? I don't necessarily support, a lot of that, but at the same time, how do you go farther, into the future without experimenting on animals? I don't know any humans that are really kind of up for this, because God only knows. You've watched The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
If
I
1% of
mean,
these rats, if 1%
sometimes
of these mice, go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead.
sometimes you got to crack a few eggs to make some omelets. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
going to mention a certain time period in history, but we made some progress in science just by experimenting on human beings, and there were no laws, rules, and
Yeah.
regulations. And I think the fact is that there's so many laws, rules, and regulations now. We have to experiment on, little baby mice and monkeys and dogs and shit. The thing is, if we just corrected history instead of just forcefully doing shit on people, be like, look, Jerry, we have like this new DNA program. I don't know what's going to happen. You might grow like a third arm out of your head. You might grow an extra eyeball in your ass. I don't know. The thing is, it's called science, baby. But here's the thing, Jerry.
Yeah.
We're gonna pay you $15,000, 15, some Benjamins. We're gonna lay them on the table for you, buddy, and we're gonna let the dice roll. How does that sound? And then if Jerry's like, dude, fuck yeah, I need to pay off my college loan, I'll fucking grow a third arm out of my forehead. I think we're leveling the playing field. Fair is fair. Fair is fair.
Yeah, exactly. I can only imagine how many experiments we are doing on humans, right? Put the tinfoil hat on real quick. Just because we're saying, in AP News and CNN that we're not doing it on humans, we've done it in the past, which is kind of what you alluded to. So I don't know. Like
so
you said,
we're not
too many
currently
people.
doing it in the United States and most of the civilized Western world.
That
There
we
is
know
one.
of.
There is one country that is currently gobbling up all geneticists, and they are paying them to do experiments. And I don't know, maybe like 3 years ago, a baby was born AIDS-free to a positive AIDS mom and dad because of
Right.
genetic work, and the government of said country was like, "Fuck it, good science, way to go. Here's a couple." million yen, go spend it on whatever.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah,
by the way, we
exactly.
need you to make us the tallest, best basketball players for the Olympics, because we're going for gold, baby.
Yeah. Jeremy in the chat mentioned Unit 731, which of course was, was that Japanese? Was that a Japanese program? They did a bunch of like biological experiments and chemical, experiments and stuff like that. That's just a whole other topic. And Jeremy, thanks for mentioning that. I'll bookmark that right now, because that's going to be really worth looking into. And of course, I mean,
Hey,
we're not
Jeremy,
pro-Nazi.
since you're still watching, why don't you put down your beer and fucking hit the like and subscribe button for us, dog? We'd appreciate
How
that.
do you know he hasn't already? And why do you think Jeremy's drinking beer?
I just have a solid feeling right now that he's probably knocking back a cold one.
A cold one. He's drank the Kool-Aid and went out and bought a couple Yinglings then.
Yeah.
What I was going to say a second ago is, by all means, we don't support anything, that has any relation to Nazis. But I mean, there was a lot of interesting things that came out of that time period. And, it's rumored that the Americans were doing the same kind of shit. Like, we were doing some really, really skeezy stuff. But again, Renner's
Operation Paperclip. That's what that was called. We'll just fucking
yeah.
we won't hang
the
you
winners
for
were
your fucking war crimes, but do that shit for us.
Right, exactly. That's what I was alluding to. Yeah, the winners write the history, and we certainly scooped up a lot of Nazi scientists and did a lot of wacky shit on our own. But I definitely thought about kind of diving into some of the human experiments of the past, because I think it's fascinating. We talked about Dr. Was it Robert White, who was wanting to do the monkey head transplant onto a human, and just have a bunch of like human bodies with fucking gorilla heads to make the these ultimate warriors and stuff like that. And he successfully transplanted the head from one monkey to another, and it actually did reanimate and had a little bit of consciousness before it suddenly died, which I think did it really?
And then, the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was that doctor that was putting monkey testicles in dudes. I mean, if you couldn't get your dick up, We didn't have Viagra at the time, but let me tell you what. Let me sew in some goat and monkey testicles in there, and dude, you'll be fucking rock hard.
Man, yeah, I that was an early episode we talked about that. That was fantastic. Sometimes I
Yeah,
want to go back through and listen to our own catalog. Is that weird? Is that kind of like, getting high on your own supply?
yeah.
We watched the war. Jeremy said we watched the war crimes for the data. Yeah, that we did, man. That we did. Well, let me roll into my second one real quick because it's very pertinent. In Amsterdam, back on March 28th, a giant meatball was made from the flesh cultivated from the DNA of an extinct woolly mammoth and was unveiled at Nemo, a science museum in the Netherlands. The meatball was created by Australian cultured meat company Vow, which promises this is not an April Fool's joke, and said it wanted to get people talking about cultured meat, calling it a more sustainable alternative from real meat. And again, I ate some of those crickets. I still got about a half a test tube. So, alternative protein sources is something that I really think is pretty rad and very interested in. Well, they said we wanted to create something that was totally different from anything you can get now. Adding that an additional reason for choosing mammoth is that scientists believe the animal's extinction was caused by climate change. Huh? Yeah, hot button topic. The meatball was made of sheep cells inserted into a single mammoth gene called myoglobin. When it comes to meat, myoglobin is responsible for the aroma, the color, and the taste. Since the mammoth's DNA sequence obtained by Vow has a few gaps, African elephant DNA was inserted to complete it. Much like they do in the movie Jurassic Park. Wow, fucking wow. While creating cultured meat usually means using blood of a dead calf, Vow used an alternative, meaning no animals were killed in making of the mammoth meatball. The meatball, which has the aroma of crocodile meat, this fucking thing is like the Heinz 57. It's the mutt of meatballs.
Yeah, get the
It's
fuck
mammoth,
out
but
of
it's
here.
made with
You
sheep.
you
Yeah.
can't fucking tell me, like, first of all, with preserved mammoth bodies, right? When you go out into the Arctic tundra, dude, you can just fucking dig down to the permafrost, find a perfectly preserved 10,000-year-old freezer dried piece of mammoth. Hopefully it didn't die of anthrax, but I mean, whatever. Roll the dice, fucking cook it up, eat it. Don't fucking hand me some fake ass lab grown meatball that you had to like jimmy in some crocodile and fucking
I know.
elephant,
That's what
you
gets me,
know.
dude.
Let's put a little fucking fish in there. We don't even know. I mean, it could have tasted like mammoth. We're just guessing, but it's a mystery meatball, really. Put in some
Yeah.
faux, call it a day. It's fine.
This is the meatball you get out of a box that says free meatballs in a parking lot of some kind of like superstore, like you did a puppy back when I was little.
Yeah.
Fucking bonkers. Well, they said the protein's literally 4,000 years old. We haven't seen it in a very long time, which means we need to put it through rigorous tests, something that we do with any product we normally bring to the market. Val hopes to put cultured meat on the map in European unions, a market where meat is not a food that is regulated. I mean, do I gotta say it, dude? If you're making this Heinz 57 of, sheep and elephant and all that kind of stuff, someone's already thought about, sloughing off a couple cheek cells and tossing it in there for good luck. And now we've got, manufactured man meat.
I mean, yeah, we already talked about in an earlier episode James Franco salami,
I was gonna
Brad Pitt
say James Franco salami.
pepperoni.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I
that's
just
not even a
look.
euphemism, folks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a connoisseur of rare meats. Like, slap down
Mm-hmm.
some bear, give me some shark. I'll eat
Oh, I
anything.
like shark.
But
Mm-hmm.
don't fucking sell me woolly mammoth that tastes like a crocodile when we goddamn well know there was no woolly mammoth
Mm-hmm.
in the history of woolly mammoth that tasted like a crocodile. They tasted like a goddamn buttery elephant, and that's what I expect in my mouth.
Well, I mean, that's the old adage too. Everything tastes like chicken. They probably compare this to crocodile because they've never cooked a mammoth meatball before. So for all we know, mammoth and crocodile taste the same. But that's the closest thing they
But
could find to
crocodile tastes
describing
like
how it
chicken.
smells. Or does chicken taste like crocodile?
I mean, that
Maybe
could be.
mammoth tastes like chicken too.
I've heard rattler tastes like chicken too. So if you fry up some old,
I've had
you know,
snake, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's funny to me that everyone's like, everything tastes like chicken. Well, it's all like meat protein. Depending where it came from, you've got some kind of gaminess to it. But yeah, it's not surprising that a lot of things, like small animals, taste the same to a degree. I mean, rabbit tastes like rabbit, tastes nothing like chicken. But yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, you can only taste like so many things.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting, though, is if we talk about the idea of doing experiments on rats or mice in this case, and, what is the morale behind that, and is it okay to do? What about doing these, food experiments with extinct or dead animal cells? Like, where's the, moral compass in that? Are we doing something that's like really, really fucking perverted? Or what do you think personally, man? Do you think like, fuck it, they're dead. It's extinct. It's been frozen for 40,000 years or 4,000 years. Is there anything wrong with doing that?
No.
I don't think so either.
I mean, I'm all for like, we talked about how they're talking about bringing back the woolly mammoth, but we don't understand the climate because we found all the bodies like in the frozen tundra that these were something that survived in cold weather, when actually when you look at their stomachs and everything, you see that they were kind of like tropical elephants. Woolly mammoths would be great in Kansas. They like the winter. They bitch about the summer. Spring's pretty good. Fuck yeah, fall. Let me go eat all these bushes over here. So the fact that we want to bring them back and they're just like fucking throw them in the Russian tundra, they'll be fine. Like, no, you're going to kill them. I am okay. Like, let's bring back these extinct animals, get a breeding population, and bada bing, bada boom, daddy can go have himself a fucking woolly mammoth hamburger. I want some dire stag steak. You know what? Like, nature already ran its course. You guys fucking failed on the survival of the fittest. It's fair game, baby. Let's eat it. So.
Yep, we're bringing back the woolly mammoth like the fucking McRib, dude.
Yeah, the dodo. Fuck yeah, dodo nuggets. I'm all over it. Go get me a dodo McChicken right now.
Yeah, do a Hot Ones wing challenge with some dodo bird. Yeah, let's fucking do it, dude.
Fucking spicy ranch McDodo. Slap some cheese on it. Fuck yeah, man.
Can I get a buffalo dodo burger, please? Well, hit me with your last news story there, bud.
I probably should have read this prior to the show. Now that I actually read it, I'm like, dude, this has fucking nothing. I mean, kind of. I think I can spin this. So,
what happened? Hang on. What happened? Years ago, we would fucking research for like a week and read everything and blah, blah, blah. And I think life's just been so busy lately. There's times when it's like, oh, fuck, we got to record in an hour. You got anything? Like, we're still doing that for the last couple of years. I'm going to turn over a new leaf. I've actually written 4/5 of next week's episode already. So I'm making the vow now that I might just read this shit, like, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think I've gotten too comfortable,
Yeah, we both have.
I feel like I'm already, I'm like a Joe Rogan. I mean, I'm going to say it. Come on, Joe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does he wear that many rings?
I don't know. But anyways, I feel so comfortable in my podcasting seat now that I'm just like, I don't need to research ahead. Like, I can knock this off the cuff. Anyways, so the wife tagged me in this article and it was like, let me tell you, let me preface.
By the way, I gotta say too, Shayla tagged me in that meatball article, so hats off to our wives.
Yeah, see, they're looking out for us. So here's the logic. Here's how my brain connected 2 and 2 and got 8. So we're talking about the Great Elk Abduction of 1999, right? And so I get this article that's 2,000 mummified ram heads left in honor of Egypt's most powerful pharaoh. So ancient Egypt, ancient aliens. They were astronauts, and so maybe like the elk of 1999, like the aliens came down, like we got Pharaoh Mahut Tut and Tut on planet Sirius B, and we need to honor him. So let's go down to Earth and get all the elk. So see, I was trying to connect the dots, and I failed. So
you tried. That's all we ever ask is that you just try.
Yeah, anyways, so here's a fucking history article for all you nerds out there. 2,000 mummified ram heads were left in honor of Egypt's most powerful pharaoh and are found inside ancient temples. That's right, more than 2,000 mummified ram heads in a palatal Old Kingdom structure have been uncovered by archaeologists at the King Ramses Temple in Abydos. The find, located roughly 270 miles south of Cairo, comes from a period over 1,000 years from the 6th dynasty of the Herrick Age, making the discovery some 4,300 years old. In addition to the ancient ram's head, archaeologists from the University of New York also discovered a group of mummified dogs, wild goats, cows, deers, and one fucking lone ostrich. The mummified remains are believed to have been left at the site to honor Ramses II about 1,000 years after his death. I mean, they were a day late and a dollar short, but hey, I mean, let's go ahead and help the guy out 1,000 years later. It was thought that the rams and other animals would have been used as offerings during worship of the rams in Abydos during the Bipedus period. In addition to the wealth of animal remains, archaeological teams have uncovered a huge building with walls roughly 5 meters thick from the Old Kingdom. The structure contained a number of statues, tree remains, leather shoes, clothing, and papyri. The discovery could help reestablish the sense of ancient landscapes before the construction of the Ramses II temple. That's it. That's all I got. I'm done.
Yeah, no, that's still interesting, man. Yeah, it beats those fucking like 5 cow heads that were found severed in the dumpster I talked about the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's pertinent. You know, we love mummies on the show, so thanks, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tonight's episode's pretty interesting, and I want you guys to think of the main story. Even though it's pretty bizarre, I want you to think of it not just as a standalone story, but also as an appetizer for the next show, too, because it's actually going to be related in kind of a weird way. Tonight's story, Preston, you already mentioned earlier, is the Great Elk Abduction of 1999. So the strange incident took place on February 25th, 1999, near the forests and mountains of Washington State. Slightly before noon on a cloudy day on the 25th of February, 1999, in the upper northwest area of the United States, 3 Washington State forestry workers were planting seedling trees in the woodlands near Mount St. Helens, when out of nowhere, a saucer-shaped object came floating across the sky and into the view of the 3 workers. It would slowly and calmly enter the valley, coming from the north, just beyond the 3 forestry workers' position. They said the craft was flying slowly in a strangely calm manner, with which it seemed to have been looking for something. There appeared to be a purposeful nature of the movements, and it also was completely silent and cut through the air, making no noise at all. But strangely, the craft was making kind of a wobbling motion as it was flying through the valley. Now, after watching the weird and wobbly craft for a minute or two, the 3 men called out to the rest of their crew, 11 more people in total, who were up on a hill facing the opposite direction, watching a group of elk grazing on the nearby grounds. The 11 men turned around, and along with the initial 3 witnesses, all 14 men watched the bizarre scenario unfold. It would become pretty obvious in the forestry crew that the bizarre craft was seemingly moving in the direction of the herd of elk. For their part, the elk, though, continued as normal, apparently unaware or maybe unconcerned with what was exactly approaching them from behind. Only when the metallic disc was almost on top of the herd did they seem to notice and then soon become agitated, aware of the strange craft. Hang on, I got a plane flying overhead. That's kind of creepy. Then the already bizarre incident took an even stranger turn. Although no one seemed to see the exact circumstances that caused it, one of the elk quickly became isolated from the rest of the herd. It was then, according to witnesses, pretty obvious that the adult elk was being drawn away from the others. Whatever the reason, though, the object soon zeroed in.
That's called the tractor beam.
Right, yeah. We'll get to the tractor beam. Don't you worry. Don't you worry at all, buddy. The members of the forestry work crew watched in disbelief as the object hovered directly over the top of the lone animal, and then suddenly the elk seemed to freeze in its tracks and slowly rose up into the air, almost as if two large invisible hands scooped it up and started lifting it up into the sky. The object started to get decisively more wobbly at this stage, but the elk, however, would remain firmly in the invisible grasp of the flying saucer. The object began to move upwards. Slightly, as it did so, the elk would then rotate, spinning underneath the craft, and it seemed to be getting closer and closer to the bottom of the disc. The object, still with the elk hovering below and moving in unison as if suspended by an invisible rope, would then head towards the east. But suddenly, however, the strange craft turned slightly and began to move westward, and as it did, the workers said the craft began to wobble more, and strangely it looked like the elk might have been too heavy for the craft, as it seemed to be struggling to keep its invisible grasp on the animal. Clumsily enough, they actually said that the craft moved over and the elk swung and hit a few trees, like they just like bonk, bonk, bonk as they were flying down the side of the forest.
I mean, they're pretty fucking heavy, so
yeah,
they probably didn't have a calibrator like there, because normally they abduct cows, and they're like, I don't know, right, Jerry, right. How much do you think this fucking thing weighs? I don't know, like 200 pounds. It's not as big as a cow, man. And all of a sudden they're like, whoops, we really fucked that one.
I mean, I bet you a nickel and some fuzzies that a cow weighs more than an elk. But, I see what you're getting at. I was thinking maybe they were told to come down and pick up a deer. And they're like, hey, there's one of those big deers. And no, an elk's, at least 2 or 3 times the size of a deer. Well, strangely enough, anyway, the craft then did a full 360 and began to ascend higher into the air, increasing the speed as it moved up towards the sky. At this stage, the elk was no longer visible, and as no one had seen it drop to the ground, it was assumed by the witnesses that the animal must have then been taken inside the craft itself. Witnesses would claim the rest of the elk remained tightly packed together as if for protection, and furthermore, whether they were conscious of it or not, they seemed to stay in the pack for the remainder of the day with the workers working nearby. The workers were perplexed, but also cautious to tell anybody what they just saw because, at the time, nobody wants to admit they saw a flying saucer, let alone one that abducted an elk. So, mum's the word, and they kind of remained pretty tight-lipped. But then later on the 1st of March, about a week after, a report of the incident was somehow made to the National UFO Reporting Center, aka the NUFORC, or NUFORC. They would go out to the location in question, and NUFORC's director, Peter Davenport, would also contact the director of investigations for MUFON, a branch in the state of Washington, a gentleman named Robert Fairfax, who would also assist in the investigation. They'd speak to the 3 main witnesses as well as the other 11 men, and then inspected the location for sightings themselves. Furthermore, they would also witness a corpse later of an adult and pregnant elk that was discovered along the roadside several miles away by a separate group of forestry workers. Whether this was the same elk that was taken is uncertain, however, they think it's highly likely. Even stranger, though, is that there's no obvious injuries or wounds leading to find out what the cause of death was for this elk in question. They said
I don't
it was
know,
healthy.
a fucking fall from a great height. They fucking probably splattered it against the side of the road.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that because that's what I would have thought too. No, the deer was laying perfectly preserved, still on the ground. There's no signs of broken bones, no cuts, and there's no indentation where it fell down and like Looney Tunes itself into the ground. It looked like
missing
it was
its asshole.
Because
technically, when they abduct cows, they get rid of the asshole lips,
Right. Nope. The asshole was intact. It had not been cored out. They said there were no signs of the typical mutilations that you'd find with a UFO. But perhaps even stranger, though, despite the other signs of dead animals mostly immediately being preyed upon after being found out into the open, especially in the woods, Not a single animal had taken interest in the body, and they assumed it had been laying there for right around 7 or 8 days. So again, you hear that in a lot of these stories. If something was supposedly taken by a UFO, animals seem to kind of be deterred from getting anywhere near it. There's rarely ever even any maggots in some cases. So no, there was no predation, no animals had eaten it. The bunghole was intact, eyeballs, tongue, everything are still there. No laser cuts. The embryo was still inside the deer even later when they would do an inspection. Although the incident remains without full and satisfactory explanation, it remains one of the most intriguing encounters on record. For example, the witnesses. Davenport would highlight how some of them had worked for the company in the area for almost 20 years. So it wasn't likely they would risk their job and pull some kind of stunt just for publicity. Kind of like, the old fire in the sky abduction in Snowflake, Arizona. These dudes were serious. They don't want to have any kind of, weird publicity. But, some people also said maybe they tried to kill the old boys. Who knows? Furthermore, though, in this story, it was at his stern belief the witnesses were sincere and believable, although the corporation employing the workers wished to remain anonymous. They would vouch for each of the witnesses' credibility. Perhaps another indication of their genuineness was the instance, Jesus, if I could read, their insistence.
Use
Blah,
your
blah,
words.
typos. Yeah, I should have read that as well. Anyway, initially the entire group was intent on keeping the incident between themselves only. However, when their supervisor saw them later the day after the sighting, it was almost obvious immediately something was wrong, and so ultimately he was able to pry just what it was they saw. Some would even go on to state that they had suffered bizarre and persistent nightmares in the following weeks after seeing the craft try to abduct the elk. We should perhaps also note that Davenport does that in blah, 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 blah. Follow-up reports would suggest that many of the witnesses would develop an intent interest in UFOs following the incident. Whether this was expected as a reaction or not, perhaps, no, that's fucking word salad as well. Many of the people who saw the craft also became extremely uncomfortable whenever they had to work anywhere near the location of the incident. This would continue on for some time. Yeah, I'd probably be a little bit, nervous to go near that site as well, because it took an elk last time. What if they fucking took Jerry, or even me? Fuck.
Yeah.
The further extraordinary details would also come to the light in the weeks following the encounter. For example, one of the witnesses would claim it appears as though the craft was actually increasing in size shortly after capturing the elk, like some kind of reverse TARDIS. Another witness, however, would say that he thought that it was a trick of the light and the craft actually stayed the same size. But what's really intriguing, however, there are several reports of a strange light or flashes during this precise time by other people, including motorists. One UFO researcher questioned whether these lights and the apparent increase of size of the craft may actually have been plasma, which was witnessed around an orb-like sighting earlier. This would also suggest that the craft, as solid as it appeared, could have been more flexible. Perhaps even stranger, though, keep this in mind, are the comments from one of the witnesses. They would claim, though, that he could shake the word salad, blah, blah, blah. What the fuck? Okay, so let me take that one again. Perhaps even stranger, though, is the comments of one of the witnesses. He would claim that he couldn't seem to shake the notion the craft appeared to him like he was actually some kind of prehistoric animal. So now I'm kind of thinking of, well, never mind, I don't want to spoil it. I'm thinking of a recent movie that came out. Perhaps it was also worth mentioning, if only in brief, another sighting in the mountain regions of Washington state that took place over about a year later in the summer of 2000. This account was broadcast on local radio and would claim several witnesses rang in to report a strange, round green object floating in the skies near the mountain regions. Furthermore, both government and private radar has also said they picked up sightings of the same craft, although, after researching it, MUFON couldn't say that this is an official report. One witness, a driver with several passengers in his vehicle, would state how they had been forced down Goat Trail Road because of repairs that they had to have done off the main highway. As they made their way along the road, however, they would witness a bright green object hovering in the sky. Every now and then it would move up or down and then come back to its original resting position. Then, without warning, it would take off with breakneck speed. Rather unbelievably, though, even to the witness, despite him bringing the vehicle to a full stop for several moments, none of his passengers witnessed the bizarre aerial display. The witness would continue on with his journey, and he would eventually speak to the sighting to close friends and family, none of whom initially believed them. That was until the aforementioned report on the radio around a week or so later. However, following this, the witnesses didn't hear anything else about the sighting, nor did he manage to find any other witnesses that saw the same event. So whether or not there was a connection there to the elk abduction the previous year is not clear, but it's strange to say at the least there's some bizarre aerial activity going on in Washington state. So anyway, the encounter is one of the most bizarre and disturbing to happen. Whatever happened on the afternoon at Mount St. Helens would certainly appear to be something significant enough to unsettle 14 grown men, some again who worked for that actual department for 20 years. Blah, 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 more word salad. And what about the state of the dead elk itself, presto? If we assume the carcass was roadside and was indeed the same as the one that was taken by the disc-shaped craft, the lack of injuries means the actual cause of death still remains a mystery. And also, why didn't any scavengers try to eat the dead animal? The lips, the eyes, the butthole were all still intact, so why didn't the aliens choose to mutilate it like so many cattle and other livestock found from these classic sightings?
Man,
what
they probably ran They fucking ran their alien radar over it and did some bleep blop bloop scans. And they're like, this ain't no fucking deer, Jerry. This is a fucking elk. And they're just like, fuck that. Get rid of it. You know?
You fucking idiot. You had one job.
Yeah, or maybe maybe they were looking for reindeer, like some mushroom eating magical, Santa goodies, and they're like, dude, you fucking idiot, just because it has antlers doesn't mean it's what we're looking for. Get the fuck out of this ship. And or maybe they ran their bleep blop bloop test on it and made a elk meatball in their little replicator, and they tried it and they're like, this tastes like dick, get it out of here. Right. Which is that if that's the case, you know what, fuck you, aliens, because I've had myself several elk burgers in my life, and I think elk is amazing.
Yeah. Well, it kind of makes me wonder if it's not a classic case of the movie Predator, where these things are coming to Earth and they're landing and they're trying to hunt and capture things maybe they don't have on their own planet, or maybe they're just here flying around and they look down and think, oh, holy shit, what's that? It's like a deer, but it's fucking huge. And then maybe they got it up to the ship and realized, oh no, this one's with child. And whatever they do to, anti-gravitic devices, radiation, all that kind of stuff, it has some weird effect. And unfortunately, when they put it back down on Earth, it was too much, and the poor elk, killed over. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, I want you guys
I don't know.
Put a pin
I was just thinking, from the title, the Great Elk Abduction, it was going to be more than one. I thought, the aliens took a whole fucking herd of them. And then you just hit me with one missing elk, and I don't know, Jerry, you didn't have any more to say. I mean, you guys were out on the fucking mountain drinking your fucking beers, whittling your wood, and doing your fucking redneck woodworking shit, and you ain't got any more to say about a disc-shaped craft taking fucking baby's mom into outer space. We saw a UFO and we were just like, we better get the fuck out of here. So we got on the road. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Fucking put some chewing tobacco on my lip and put on some Johnny Cash and just went down the road. And then you know what? We saw a dead deer or an elk on the side of the road. And we're like, God dang it, Jerry! I think that's the one of them little UFO burgers took up in the crab. We don't know, but we think. And that was the end of the story right there.
I like to picture the other side of the coin. In the craft were redneck aliens wearing, overalls and little straw hats, and one of them had a little piece of grass hanging out his mouth, and he's like, get him! And they go down and realize it's way too fucking big for their craft. Well,
God damn it, we told you to set that for 700 pounds. God damn it, Jerry. Now how we going to get that goddamn elk burger, you son of a bitch? Just go ahead and drop it back down. You already fucked up. Shit, we're going to have to go get ourselves a little Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer out of Russia or some shit or like that goddamn son of a bitch.
That's funny. You said for 700 pounds. Apparently, elk can weigh anywhere between 400 to 1,000 pounds. So that was a solid, educated guess there, champ.
Yeah, man.
But I do stand by what I said earlier. I think a cow does weigh a lot more than a fucking deer. Or an elk.
Yeah.
Especially deer. Well, the title of the episode is slightly a misnomer, but I want you to put a pin in that because the following story next week actually has a little bit to do with elk in a much bigger way. But I wanted to have this be, like I said earlier, a little appetizer, just to kind of wet your whistle, make you think, what the fuck do aliens really want to do with elk? So, this will be continued next time on an unrelated story that still has to do with elk. Anything else to add, Presto, buddy?
No, I ain't got nothing, dog.
All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining in, for commenting, and watching along with us as we live stream tonight. Thank you so much. Speaking of social media, if you're on Instagram, please give us a follow on the old Instagram at PXL Paranormal. If you're on Facebook, we are the Pixelated Paranormal Podcast. If you're on Apple or iTunes podcast apps, please give us a rating and review on our new feed. We would love that. And we'll even share them on the next episode. Presto, what do you got for me, pal?
I mean, we're up to 248 subscribers on YouTube, which
Nice.
I think we might have gained one since last time, or maybe we're at a standstill. Anyways, if you're watching this live, I didn't put that fucking green splurt thing down at the bottom for shits and giggles. I did that to remind you to like, subscribe, and then share it with all your friends. So if you're watching this, fucking smash, smash, smash that like button. Better than those fucking aliens try to abduct that elk. And, you know, follow the show.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, I really, really, really like what you've done with the Facebook. I like the little border on the side with the ghost, man. It's awesome. Ken says nighty night, and then Jeremy M said guten Nacht. Good night, fellas. So thanks again for joining us. Yeah, we should probably be doing a little more advertising of the old YouTube as well, man. So maybe we can do that and get some more of those smash, smash, smash likes.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you got for Daubers, bud?
And then, look, as always, if you need a beard, if you want a beard, if you want to grow a beard that's not going to be confused with a fucking fake-ass woolly mammoth meatball, because you're going to have your own fucking meatball on your face that's just, like, looks good, smells good, tastes good, you need to go over to BigDobsBeardBomb.com. And then you need to use promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your order. And pick yourself up some scents like Bay Rum Fresh, Citrus, Mint, Classic, Sweet Tobacco. And you know what, listeners, if you're watching this live stream, Ken just said, P.S. I need more stickers. I need more subscribers. I don't know. Get me more subscribers and I'll pay you in stickers. How about that? How about that?
We will get more. We'll get more stickers to you, Ken. Also, I know Jeffrey wanted to do a sticker that has like a QR code you can scan and go straight to the Spotify. Spotify did like this new weird QR code deal, and it almost looks like wavelengths or audio waves, and you're supposed to scan that with a phone and take you to the actual Spotify. For whatever reason, we couldn't get it to work, so we're kind of circling back on that, but we'll get more stickers pretty quick, most definitely.
Well.
And speaking of stickers, if you're in the Wichita area, stop by and see our dear friend Leslie and the rest of the gang at CD Trade Post, where they have a sticker for our podcast on the front glass of their store. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. I'm going to raise this glass of water because I'm still sick and didn't want to drink on this episode. And I want to say cheers to the weird shit in the world and those of us who love to talk about it.
And stay spooky and stay on the paranormal highway.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. Email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.